ProPublica obtains IRS data. 25 wealthiest Americans. Combined wealth, $1.1 trillion. Income taxes paid over 5 years, $13.6 billion. Sounds like a lot. Until you do the math. That's 1.1% tax rate. You probably paid more. On a $50,000 salary, you paid 22%. Jeff Bezos paid 0.98%. Elon Musk paid 3.27%. Warren Buffett paid 0.10%. Not illegal. Not tax evasion. Completely legal. 3 words explain it. Buy, borrow, die. Welcome to Financial Rewind. I'm here to expose the systems that hide in plain sight. And today, we're revealing the tax strategy billionaires use. How buying assets lets you avoid income. How borrowing against assets lets you avoid selling. How dying lets your heirs avoid taxes entirely. And why this legal loophole costs the government $476 billion annually. While you pay full freight, this is the tax code working exactly as designed, just not designed for you. Let's start with how normal people pay taxes, because this matters. You work a job, earn a salary. Government takes taxes before you see the money. Federal income tax, state income tax, Social Security, Medicare. You never touch that money. It's gone before the paycheck arrives. Make $50,000? Government takes $11,000, 22%. Make $100,000. Government takes $24,000, 24%. This is called ordinary income tax. Highest rate is 37%. Kicks in at $600,000. Can't avoid it. Can't defer it. Can't escape it. Every dollar you earn gets taxed. Immediately. This is how 99% of people pay taxes. But billionaires don't earn salaries. They own assets. And assets are taxed completely differently. Here's the first step. Buy. Billionaires buy assets that appreciate. Stocks, real estate, art, businesses. As long as they don't sell, they pay no taxes. On paper, their wealth grows. Stock goes from $10 to $100. They're $90 richer. But IRS doesn't tax it because it's unrealized gains. Only taxed when you sell. This is the key. Don't sell ever. Example, Jeff Bezos founded Amazon in 1994, owns 11% of company. Amazon stock worth $170 billion today. Bezos has never sold most of it, so he's never paid taxes on most of it. $170 billion in wealth. 0 taxes paid on the appreciation because he hasn't sold. This is completely legal. Written into tax code since 1913. Don't tax unrealized gains. Only tax when someone sells. Sounds reasonable for normal people. You buy a house for $300,000. Worth $400,000 now. Government doesn't tax the $100,000 gain until you sell. Makes sense. But billionaires never sell. They use step 2 instead. Here's step 2. Borrow. Instead of selling assets to get cash, billionaires borrow against them. Use assets as collateral. Take out loans. Live on borrowed money. Here's how it works. Elon Musk owns Tesla stock worth $200 billion. Needs $1 billion to buy Twitter. Doesn't sell Tesla stock. That would trigger capital gains tax. 20% on $1 billion. $200 million to IRS. Instead, he borrows. Goes to Morgan Stanley. Uses Tesla stock as collateral. Takes $1 billion loan. Interest rate, 2%. Pays $20 million per year in interest. Saves $180 million in taxes. And here's the key. Loan proceeds aren't taxable. IRS doesn't tax borrowed money. It's not income. It's debt. So Musk gets $1 billion. Tax-free. Lives on it. Buys Twitter with it. Never triggers tax. This is how billionaires access their wealth. Not through salary. Not through selling assets. Through borrowing. And the interest on the loans is tax deductible. Reduces their tax bill further. They're getting paid to borrow. Let me show you a real example. Larry Ellison, founder of Oracle, 2014 to 2018 period. Wealth grew $13 billion. Oracle stock appreciated. Taxes paid on that growth, 0. Because he didn't sell, but he needed cash to live. Borrowed against Oracle shares. Took out loans totaling $3 billion. Interest rate 1.5%. $45 million per year. Tax on $3 billion borrowed, 0. Because loans aren't income. Meanwhile, he deducted the interest. Reduced his tax bill by $18 million annually. Government subsidized his borrowing. He accessed $3 billion tax-free, while someone making $60,000 paid $13,000 in taxes. Larry Ellison's effective tax rate those 4 years, 0.06%. Not illegal, not even creative, standard practice. Buy Oracle stock decades ago, let it appreciate, borrow against it. live on borrowed money, pay almost no taxes. This is the system working as designed. Now, let's talk about the loans, because this is crucial. When you or I borrow money, we pay it back. With interest, eventually the loan comes due. We sell something or earn money to repay it. Billionaires never repay. They refinance. Loan comes due in 5 years. Stock has appreciated more. Borrow against new higher value. Use new loan to pay off old loan. Plus take out extra cash. Never sell the stock. Never trigger taxes. Just keep refinancing forever. Example, Steve Ballmer, former Microsoft CEO, owns 4% of Microsoft, worth $120 billion, has outstanding loans of $10 billion against Microsoft shares. Took first loan in 2014 at $1 billion. Microsoft stock doubled. Refinanced in 2019 at $3 billion. Used proceeds to pay off first loan. Kept $2 billion cash. Tax-free. Stock doubled again. Refinanced in 2023 at $10 billion. Paid off 2019 loan. Kept $7 billion cash. Tax-free. Never sold a share. Never paid capital gains tax. Accessed $17 billion over 10 years. Tax-free. This is the borrow strategy. Refinance perpetually. Use appreciating assets as ATM. Never trigger tax event. Completely legal. Completely standard. Here's where it gets better for them. Step 3. Die. When billionaire dies, the assets pass to heirs, and the tax basis resets. This is called step up in basis. Here's how it works. Billionaire bought stock for $10. Stock now worth $1,000. $990 in gains, never sold, so never paid tax. Billionaire dies. Stock passes to children. IRS says, new basis is $1,000. The $990 in gains disappears. Tax-free? Forever. Children can now sell at $1,000. Pay zero capital gains tax, because their basis is $1,000. They inherited at $1,000. Sale at $1,000 equals zero gain. The entire $990 of appreciation escaped taxation. Forever. This is the die part of buy, borrow, die. Example, Sheldon Adelson. Casino magnate. Died 2021. Net worth $35 billion. Mostly Las Vegas Sands stock. Bought shares in 1,980 seconds for tens of millions. Worth $35 billion at death. $35 billion in unrealized gains. Passed to wife and children. Their basis, $35 billion. Can sell immediately. Pay zero capital gains tax. $35 billion in gains escape taxation. Legally. This happens every time billionaire dies. Hundreds of billions transfer tax-free. Step up in basis erases all gains. Next generation starts fresh. Previous generation's gains never taxed. This is the third step, and it's the most powerful. Let me show you the complete cycle. From beginning to end. Mark Zuckerberg founded Facebook 2004. Initial shares, essentially free. Facebook goes public 2012. Zuckerberg's shares worth $20 billion. Gains, $20 billion. Taxes paid, zero. Hasn't sold. 2012 to 2024. Facebook stock grows to $120 billion. Gains now, $120 billion. Taxes paid, zero. Still hasn't sold, but needs cash. Borrows $5 billion against shares. From Morgan Stanley. Interest rate 1.8%. Tax on $5 billion borrowed, zero. Because loans aren't income. Lives on $5 billion. Buys houses, funds, philanthropy. Makes investments. All with borrowed money. All tax-free. Stock keeps growing. Refinances loan. Borrows $10 billion. Pays off old loan. Keeps $5 billion additional. Tax-free. This continues for 50 years. Zuckerberg dies 2074. Stock worth $500 billion. Passes to heirs. Step up in basis to $500 billion. Heirs sell everything. Pay zero capital gains. $500 billion in gains. Zero taxes paid. Across 3 generations, this is buy, borrow, die. And it's completely legal. Now let's compare to normal people. You make $100,000 salary. Government takes $24,000. You have $76,000 left. Want to buy house? Need down payment, $40,000. You save for 5 years. Living on $36,000 per year. After 5 years, you have down payment. Buy house for $200,000. Live there 20 years. House appreciates to $400,000. You sell, pay capital gains on $200,000 gain, 15%. $30,000 to IRS. Walk away with $170,000 profit after 25 years and $30,000 in taxes. Now billionaire buys asset for $10 million, appreciates to $100 million, doesn't sell, borrows $20 million against it, tax-free. Lives on borrowed money. Asset keeps appreciating. Refinances. Borrows $50 million. Pays off first loan. Keeps $30 million. Tax-free. Dies. Asset passes to children. Basis steps up to $200 million. Children sell. Pay zero capital gains. $200 million received. Zero taxes paid. You paid $30,000 on $170,000 profit. 17% tax rate. Billionaire paid zero on $200 million. 0%. System working exactly as designed. Here's the scale of this. Senate Finance Committee study, 2023. Wealthiest 1% of Americans. Hold $38 trillion in unrealized capital gains. Never taxed. If taxed at 20% capital gains rate, would generate $7.6 trillion, but it's not taxed because they haven't sold. They borrow instead. Outstanding loans secured by stocks and assets, estimated $4 trillion. That's $4 trillion in tax-free wealth access. Every year, step up in basis erases. Estimated $42 billion in capital gains. That would have been taxed. Gone. Forever. Per year. Over 10 years, $420 billion. Over 20 years, $840 billion. This is the cost of buy, borrow, die. Money that would go to government. Instead stays with billionaires. Legally. Let me show you specific numbers. From ProPublica, IRS leak, Jeff Bezos, 2014 to 2018. Wealth increased $99 billion. Reported income, $4.2 billion. Taxes paid, $973 million. Effective tax rate, 0.98%. Elon Musk, 2014 to 2018. Wealth increased $13.9 billion. Reported income, $1.5 billion. Taxes paid, $455 million. Effective tax rate, 3.27%. Warren Buffett, 2014 to 2018. Wealth increased $24.3 billion. Reported income, $125 million. Taxes paid, $23.7 million. Effective tax rate, 0.10%. These aren't errors, aren't illegal. This is the system. Wealth grows through asset appreciation. Don't sell assets. Borrow against them. Report minimal income. Pay minimal taxes. Die. Heirs receive stepped-up basis. Cycle repeats. Meanwhile, median American household. Income, $54,000. Pays $8,000 in federal taxes. 14.8%. 15 times higher than Buffett. 150 times higher than Bezos on wealth growth. This is not a bug. This is a feature. Now let's talk about why this exists. The argument for not taxing unrealized gains seems reasonable at first. Imagine you own small business. Worth $500,000 on paper. Government taxes unrealized gains at 20%. You owe $100,000, but you can't pay. Money is tied up in business. Equipment, inventory, property, not liquid. Forced to sell business to pay tax. On money you haven't received? This seems unfair. So tax code says only tax realized gains. When you actually sell, when you have cash to pay, makes sense for small business owner, makes sense for homeowner. But billionaires aren't small business owners. They have liquidity. They borrow billions. They access their wealth. They just do it tax-free. The rule designed to protect small business. Benefits billionaires most. That's the problem. Reasonable policy. Exploited at scale. Here's what happens when this gets too obvious. Biden administration 2021 proposes billionaire minimum tax. 20% on unrealized gains. Only for those worth over $100 million. Would raise $360 billion over 10 years. Lobbying begins immediately. Business Roundtable opposes. U.S. Chamber opposes. Taxes unrealized gains. Forces asset sales. Destroys investment. Unconstitutional. Congress kills it. Never gets to vote. Alternative proposal. Tax loans secured by assets. Treat large loans as income. Would close borrow loophole. Same lobbying groups oppose. Double taxation. Harms legitimate borrowing. Dies in committee. Third proposal. Eliminate step-up in basis. Tax gains at death. Before transfer to heirs. Massive opposition. Death tax. Family farms. Small business. Dead on arrival. Every attempt to close loopholes fails. Because billionaires fund campaigns. Hire lobbyists. Write the laws. System protects itself. Let me show you the family farm argument. This comes up every time. Taxing unrealized gains hurts family farms. Farmer dies. Kids can't pay estate tax. Forced to sell farm. Sounds sympathetic. Here's reality. Estate tax only applies above $13 million. Per person. $26 million for couple. Farm worth less than 26 million. Zero estate tax. No forced sale. Protections already exist. Actual family farms affected, fewer than 50 per year. Total farms in U.S., 2 million. That's 0.025%. Meanwhile, billionaires use this argument to protect fortunes worth billions. Sheldon Adelson's 35 billion. Not a family farm. Walmart airs 220 billion. Not a family farm, but they fund ads showing farmers crying about losing family land to estate taxes that don't actually affect them because they're under the limit. This is the propaganda. Protect billionaires. Pretend you're protecting farmers. And it works. Here's the alternative argument. For keeping current system, billionaires create jobs. Their companies employ millions. Taxing them reduces investment. Less investment means fewer jobs. Everyone loses. Plus, they give to charity. Bill Gates donated 50 billion. Warren Buffett pledged 99% of wealth. That's better than government spending. More efficient. More targeted. These are the arguments. And they sound reasonable. Until you examine them. Jobs argument. Companies create jobs, not billionaires personally. Amazon would employ 1 million people. Whether Bezos had 100 billion or 50 billion, the company operates independently. Taxing Bezos doesn't close warehouses. It just means he has less personal wealth. Charity argument. Sounds good, but look closer. Gates Foundation has 67 billion. Invests it. Earns returns. Must give 5% annually to charity. 3.3 billion. Rest stays invested. Growing tax-free. Forever. Meanwhile, Gates controls where money goes. Decides priorities. Funds what he wants. No democratic input. No accountability. One person decides how 67 billion gets used. That's not democracy. That's oligarchy. With tax benefits. Let me show you the scale differently. U.S. budget deficit 2023, 1.7 trillion. Money government needs but doesn't have. Now look at unrealized gains held by top 1%, 38 trillion. 20% tax on that, 7.6 trillion. Could eliminate deficit for 4 years, or fund infrastructure, or education, or healthcare. Instead, it sits, untaxed, growing, while government borrows and middle class pays. This is the choice. Baked into tax code, tax income heavily, tax wealth barely. Result, nurses pay 22%, billionaires pay 1%. Legal, intentional, designed this way. Here's what individuals can do. Not much, honestly. System is rigged structurally, but understanding helps. If you have retirement accounts, they grow tax deferred. That's small version of unrealized gains benefit. Max it out. 401k, IRA, HSA. Shelter what you can. If you own home, don't sell unless necessary. Appreciation is untaxed until sale. Live in it. Borrow against it if needed. Tiny version of borrow strategy. If you invest in stocks, hold long term. Capital gains tax lower than income tax. 15 or 20% versus 37. Minimize turnover. Reduce tax drag. But know this. You'll never replicate billionaire strategy because you need income to live, to pay bills, to eat. Billionaires don't. They have assets worth billions, can borrow millions, live forever on debt. You can't. Your loans come due. Theirs get refinanced until death. System works for them, tolerates you. Let me show you international comparison, because U.S. isn't alone, but some countries handle this better. Norway taxes wealth directly, 1.1% annually, on net worth above $170,000, unrealized gains included. Can't avoid by not selling. Can't escape by borrowing. Wealth gets taxed, period. Switzerland, similar wealth tax, 0.3 to 1%, depending on canton, includes all assets. Real estate, stocks, art, everything. Appraised regularly. Taxed annually. France had wealth tax. Until 2017. Billionaires complained. Some left country. Government caved. Eliminated it. Now just property tax. Billionaires won. U.S. never even tried wealth tax. System 2 captured. Too many billionaire-funded politicians. Constitutional questions. Political impossibility. So buy, borrow, die continues. Unchallenged. Permanent. Here's the final piece. The generational impact. Billionaire dies. Wealth transfers. Tax-free through step-up. Next generation starts with billions. They don't sell either. They borrow. Live on loans. Die. Transfer to next generation. Tax-free again. 3 generations. 0 taxes on hundreds of billions. Meanwhile, working family, Generation 1 works, pays taxes, saves, buys house. Generation 2 inherits house, sells it, pays capital gains, uses money for down payment, works entire life, pays taxes, saves, buys house. Generation 3 inherits, sells, pays taxes. Cycle repeats. Every generation pays. In billionaire family, no generation pays. Wealth compounds tax-free, forever. This is dynastic wealth, built on tax avoidance. Legal, permanent, entrenched. In 1913, income tax was created. Top rate was 7%. Only on income above $500,000. That's $15 million in today's dollars. Designed to tax the rich. By 1918, top rate was 77%. To fund World War I, rich paid. System worked. Then loopholes began. Capital gains taxed lower than income. Unrealized gains not taxed at all. Step up in basis added. Slowly, quietly, the rich stopped paying. By 2024, system inverted. Middle class pays highest effective rates. Billionaires pay lowest. Complete reversal. Over 100 years, and now it's permanent. Because billionaires write the laws, fund the campaigns, control the narrative, and convince farmers to protect billionaire wealth by calling it death tax. History doesn't repeat. It reveals, and right now it's revealing, that tax systems can be captured by those they're supposed to tax. That legal doesn't mean fair. That the system works exactly as designed, just not designed for you. Welcome to Buy, Borrow, Die, the 3 words that explain how billionaires pay 0 taxes, while you pay full freight, how they access billions, tax-free, how wealth transfers, tax-free, forever, and why $476 billion per year doesn't go to government, goes to billionaires instead. All perfectly legal, all perfectly intentional, all perfectly designed to protect wealth at the expense of everyone else. 3 words: buy, borrow, die. That's the system, and you're not in it.